True stories of the Appalachian Mountains, mysteries and legends that haunt the hills. The Appalachian Mountains, with their rolling green hills, dense forests, and mist-covered peaks, are not just a stunning natural wonder but also a place steeped in mystery and legend. These mountains have been home to countless generations of people, each contributing their own stories to the rich tapestry of Appalachian folklore. Here are some true stories that have been passed down through the years, tales of strange occurrences and unexplained events that continue to haunt the region. The ghost of Greenbrier County. In the late 19th century, the quiet town of Greenbrier County, West Virginia, was shaken by a chilling event that would forever be etched into local legend. Zona Heaster Shue, a young woman who had recently married, was found dead in her home. Her death was initially ruled as natural, but her mother, Mary Jane Heaster, believed otherwise. She claimed that Zona's ghost visited her in the night, revealing that she had been murdered by her husband, Edward Shue. The ghostly visitations were so vivid and detailed that Mary Jane convinced local authorities to reopen the case. An exhumation and autopsy revealed that Zona's neck had been broken. Edward Shue was arrested, tried, and convicted of her murder. To this day, locals speak of Zona's ghost, who continues to wander the hills, seeking justice for wronged souls. The Brown Mountain Lights. The Brown Mountain Lights of North Carolina are one of the most enduring mysteries of the Appalachian Mountains. These eerie, glowing orbs have been spotted floating above the Brown Mountain for centuries, with no definitive explanation. The lights have been seen in various colors, from white to red to blue, and appear in different shapes and sizes. Local Cherokee legends tell of spirits of Native American warriors who died in a great battle long ago, their souls still lingering on the mountain. Scientists have attempted to explain the phenomenon as swamp gas, reflections of car headlights, or even ball lightning, but no theory has ever fully explained the lights. Despite modern efforts to uncover the truth, the Brown Mountain Lights remain an unsolved mystery, captivating the imagination of all who witness them. The Bell Witch of Tennessee. Though technically outside the Appalachian region, the story of the Bell Witch has become a part of the folklore that permeates the entire Appalachian area. In the early 19th century, the Bell family of Adams, Tennessee, was plagued by a malevolent spirit that became known as the Bell Witch. The witch terrorized the family for years, manifesting as a disembodied voice, poltergeist activity, and even physical attacks. The spirit's focus was on John Bell, the family patriarch, whom it claimed it would kill. True to its word, John Bell died under mysterious circumstances, with the spirit taking credit for his demise. The Bell Witch story has been retold countless times, becoming one of America's most famous ghost stories and a chilling reminder of the supernatural forces that some believe still roam the Appalachian hills. The Lost Colony of Roanoke. One of the most enduring mysteries of American history is the disappearance of the Roanoke colony, the first English settlement in the New World. While the colony itself was located on the coast of present-day North Carolina, many believe that the survivors of the lost colony fled inland to the Appalachian Mountains. According to local legend, the colonists intermingled with the Native American tribes, leaving behind clues in the form of strange carvings and eerie tales of pale-skinned people living in the woods. Some historians have speculated that the lost colonists became part of the Lumbee tribe, whose members still live in North Carolina today. The mystery of what happened to the Roanoke settlers remains unsolved, but the idea that they found refuge in the Appalachian Mountains continues to intrigue and inspire stories of hidden settlements and lost civilizations within the region's dense forests. The Mothman of Point Pleasant. Though not within the Appalachian Mountains proper, the story of the Mothman has become an integral part of Appalachian folklore. In the late 1960s, the small town of Point Pleasant, West Virginia, was thrust into the spotlight when residents began reporting sightings of a strange, winged creature with glowing red eyes. Dubbed the Mothman, this entity was seen by dozens of people over the course of a year, often appearing near the Silver Bridge, which spanned the Ohio River. In December 1967, the Silver Bridge collapsed, killing 46 people. Many believe the Mothman was a harbinger of the disaster, a supernatural being warning of impending doom. The legend of the Mothman has since been immortalized in books, movies, and even a museum in Point Pleasant, but the true nature of the creature remains a mystery. The Witch of Ridge Hollow. In the remote town of Ridge Hollow, Virginia, lived a woman named Elizabeth Lowe, who was reputed to be a witch. According to legend, Elizabeth could control the weather, curse crops, and even bring misfortune to those who crossed her. When she mysteriously vanished one winter, the townsfolk believed she had cast one final spell. Her cabin was found empty, yet the ground around it remained warm, even in the dead of winter. To this day, people avoid the hollow, believing that Elizabeth's spirit still lingers, waiting to exact revenge on those who disturbed her. The Phantom Train of Clinch Mountain. Railroad workers and locals alike have reported seeing a ghostly train running along the old tracks on Clinch Mountain in Tennessee. This train, with its bright headlight and echoing whistle, appears out of nowhere and vanishes just as suddenly. Legend has it that the train is the spirit of an engine that derailed during a storm, killing everyone on board. The Phantom Train is said to be searching for its final destination, doomed to travel the tracks for eternity. The legend of Swift's silver mine. The tale of Swift's silver mine is one of the most famous legends in the Appalachian Mountains. John Swift, an 18th-century explorer, claimed to have discovered a rich silver mine in the mountains, but he kept its location secret. He recorded the details in a journal and minted silver coins as proof, but he was never able to retrieve the silver before he died. Treasure hunters have searched for the mine for over 2 centuries, but it remains undiscovered. The legend persists, with some believing that Swift's ghost guards the treasure, ensuring it is never found. The haunting of the Greenbrier Ghost House. In Greenbrier County, West Virginia, a house known as the Greenbrier Ghost House is said to be haunted by multiple spirits. The house, abandoned for decades, was the site of numerous deaths, including that of a young bride who was murdered on her wedding day. Visitors have reported hearing screams, footsteps, and even seeing the ghostly figure of the bride wandering the halls. The house has become a local legend, with many claiming it is one of the most haunted places in the Appalachian region. The Banshee of the Blue Ridge. The Banshee of the Blue Ridge is a terrifying figure in Appalachian folklore. According to legend, this ghostly woman, dressed in white, appears before the death of a family member. Her mournful wails can be heard echoing through the Blue Ridge Mountains, and those who hear her cry know that tragedy is near. The Banshee is believed to be the spirit of a woman who died tragically in the mountains, forever doomed to warn others of impending doom. The Melungeons of the Appalachians. The Melungeons are a mysterious group of people living in the Appalachian region, particularly in Tennessee and Virginia. Their origins are shrouded in mystery, with theories ranging from them being descendants of lost Spanish explorers to being remnants of the lost colony of Roanoke. The Melungeons have their own distinct culture and physical characteristics, often described as having darker skin and European features. Despite centuries of speculation, the true origins of the Melungeons remain one of the great unsolved mysteries of the Appalachian Mountains. The Devil's Stomping Ground. In a remote area of North Carolina lies a circular patch of barren ground where nothing grows, known as the Devil's Stomping Ground. Local legend says that this spot is where the devil himself comes to walk in circles, plotting his next evil deed. Despite attempts to cultivate the land, nothing will grow there, and items left in the circle overnight are found moved or destroyed by morning. The mystery of the Devil's Stomping Ground has puzzled residents and visitors for generations, and many avoid the area, fearing its dark reputation. The Cherokee Little People. The Cherokee people have long told stories of the Little People, a race of small, magical beings who live in the Appalachian Mountains. These beings are said to be about knee-high, with the ability to turn invisible or shapeshift. They are known to be mischievous but generally kind, helping those in need or punishing those who are disrespectful to nature. Many Cherokee believe the Little People are still present in the mountains, watching over the land and its inhabitants. The Ghost of the Appalachian Trail. Hikers along the Appalachian Trail have reported encounters with a ghostly figure known as the Gray Man. This spectral hiker, dressed in old-fashioned clothing, is said to appear during times of danger, warning hikers of impending storms or other hazards. Those who heed his warning are said to be spared from harm, while those who ignore him often find themselves in trouble. The Grey Man's true identity is unknown, but his presence on the trail has been noted by hikers for decades. The Moon-Eyed People. The Moon-Eyed People are a legendary race that have inhabited the Appalachian region before the arrival of the Cherokee. According to legend, these people had pale skin, large blue eyes, and could only see in the dark, making them nocturnal. They were eventually driven out by the Cherokee, who feared their strange abilities. Some believe the Moon-Eyed People retreated into caves deep in the mountains, where they remain to this day. The mystery of the Moon-Eyed People adds another layer to the rich tapestry of Appalachian folklore. The ghostly miners of Harlan County. Harlan County, Kentucky, is home to numerous abandoned coal mines, some of which are said to be haunted by the spirits of miners who lost their lives in tragic accidents. These ghostly miners are often seen carrying lanterns, their figures barely visible in the dim light. Locals believe that the spirits are still trying to finish their work or seeking justice for their untimely deaths. The haunting presence of these miners serves as a chilling reminder of the dangers faced by those who toiled in the mines. The Wampus Cat. The Wampus Cat is a fearsome creature from Appalachian folklore said to be a half-woman, half-cat being that prowls the mountains at night. According to legend, the Wampus Cat was once a woman who was cursed for spying on a sacred Cherokee ritual. She was transformed into a creature with the body of a cat and the mind of a human, doomed to roam the forests forever. The Wampus Cat is often blamed for strange noises, missing livestock, and other unexplained occurrences in the mountains. The Tale of Spearfinger. Spearfinger is a legendary figure in Cherokee mythology, a terrifying witch with a stone-covered body and a sharp obsidian finger. She was known for her ability to shape-shift and for luring children away from their homes, where she would devour their livers. Spearfinger was eventually defeated by the Cherokee, but her legend lives on. Some believe that her spirit still haunts the Appalachian Mountains, particularly in the areas once inhabited by the Cherokee. The Green Eyes of Chickamauga. During the Battle of Chickamauga in the Civil War, many soldiers reported seeing a pair of glowing green eyes in the darkness. After the battle, stories spread of a ghostly figure with green eyes who roamed the battlefield at night. This figure is believed to be the spirit of a soldier who died in the battle, unable to find peace. The Green Eyes of Chickamauga have become a well-known ghost story in the Appalachian region, with many claiming to have seen the eerie lights themselves. The Snallygaster. The Snallygaster is a legendary creature said to inhabit the Appalachian Mountains, particularly in Maryland. Described as a dragon-like beast with a metallic beak, sharp talons, and wings, the Snallygaster is said to swoop down from the skies to carry off livestock and even unsuspecting humans. The creature was reportedly sighted multiple times in the 18th and 19th centuries, and although no physical evidence has been found, the legend persists. Some believe the Snallygaster is a guardian of the mountains, while others see it as a harbinger of doom. The legend of the cursed Cherokee Gold. During the 1830s, the Cherokee people were forcibly removed from their lands in what is now known as the Trail of Tears. Before they left, it is said that they hid their gold in the Appalachian Mountains, cursing it so that anyone who tried to steal it would meet a terrible fate. Many treasure hunters have searched for the cursed gold, but those who claim to have found it often suffer mysterious accidents or disappear without a trace. The cursed Cherokee Gold remains one of the most sought-after and feared treasures in the Appalachian region. The Gurdon Light. The Gurdon Light is an unexplained phenomenon near the small town of Gurdon, Arkansas, on the edge of the Appalachian Mountains. The light appears along an old railroad track and is said to be the ghost of a railroad worker who was decapitated in an accident. The light is often seen floating in the air, moving along the tracks as if searching for something. Despite scientific investigations, the source of the Gurdon Light remains a mystery, and it continues to draw curious visitors to the area. The Haunted Hills of the Catawba River. The Catawba River, which runs through the Appalachian Mountains in North Carolina, is surrounded by hills that are said to be haunted by the spirits of those who died in the river. Fishermen and hikers have reported seeing ghostly figures along the riverbanks, hearing cries for help, and feeling sudden drops in temperature. The river has a dark history with numerous drownings and accidents, leading many to believe that the hills are cursed. The haunted hills of the Catawba River remain a place of mystery and fear for those who venture too close. The story of the Silver Run Tunnel. In West Virginia, the Silver Run Tunnel is known for its eerie and ghostly occurrences. The tunnel, once part of a bustling railroad, is now abandoned, but it is said to be haunted by the spirit of a young woman. According to legend, she was a bride-to-be who was murdered in the tunnel, and her ghost has been seen wandering the area in a white dress. Train conductors and workers have reported seeing her apparition, leading to the belief that the tunnel is cursed. The Silver Run Tunnel remains a popular spot for ghost hunters and thrill seekers. The Curse of the Bell Witch Cave. The Bell Witch Cave, located in Adams, Tennessee, is part of the infamous Bell Witch legend. The cave is said to be the home of the witch's spirit, and those who enter it are often met with strange occurrences. Visitors have reported feeling an unseen force pushing them, hearing whispers, and even seeing shadowy figures. The cave is considered one of the most haunted places in the Appalachian region, and the Curse of the Bell Witch continues to draw curious visitors from all over the world. The Phantom Lights of Brown Mountain. Nestled deep within the Blue Ridge Mountains, Brown Mountain is known for a mystery that has baffled locals and scientists alike for centuries. The ghostly lights that flicker in the night sky. These unexplained orbs of light, known as the Brown Mountain Lights, have been reported since the early 1900s, with some accounts dating back to the Cherokee and Catawba tribes. Witnesses described the lights as glowing orbs, varying in size and color, that move erratically across the ridge, disappearing and reappearing without warning. Many have speculated about the origins of these lights. Some believe they are the spirits of Native American maidens searching for their lost warriors. Others think they are the ghosts of slaves who perished in the mountains while attempting to escape to freedom. Skeptics have offered more grounded explanations, such as swamp gas or reflections of car headlights, but none of these theories have been able to fully explain the phenomenon. One particularly eerie encounter occurred in the fall of 1969 when a group of hikers camped near the mountain to observe the lights. As night fell, they watched in awe as the lights appeared, dancing across the ridge. But their wonder quickly turned to terror when one of the lights broke away from the others and began to drift toward their campsite. The light hovered just above them, pulsating with an eerie glow before suddenly vanishing into thin air. The hikers, shaken by the experience, packed up and left the mountain that very night, vowing never to return. The Wraith of Roan Mountain. Roan Mountain, straddling the border between North Carolina and Tennessee, is renowned for its breathtaking views and the expansive rhododendron gardens that bloom each spring. However, this serene beauty hides a darker legend, the tale of the Wraith of Roan Mountain. In the 1800s, a young woman named Eleanor was said to have lived in a small cabin on the mountain with her father. They were reclusive, keeping to themselves and rarely interacting with the other mountain folk. Eleanor was known for her striking beauty, but she was also rumored to possess a strange power. She could predict the deaths of those around her. The legend tells that one bitter winter, Eleanor fell in love with a young man from a nearby village. Their love was doomed from the start, as Eleanor had foreseen his death in her dreams. Despite her warnings, the man insisted on marrying her, dismissing her visions as mere superstition. On the night before their wedding, a blizzard swept through the mountains, and Eleanor's fiancé set out to visit her one last time before the ceremony. He never arrived. The next morning, his frozen body was found at the foot of the mountain. Heartbroken and filled with guilt, Eleanor retreated further into isolation, her mind unraveling with each passing day. She died alone in her cabin, and her body was found months later, surrounded by eerie symbols carved into the walls. Since then, hikers and campers have reported seeing a ghostly figure wandering the mountain, her face pale and her eyes filled with sorrow. Those who have encountered her say she appears just before a storm, her presence a harbinger of doom. Locals believe that Eleanor's spirit still roams Roan Mountain, forever searching for the lover she lost to the icy grip of death. The Lost Confederate Gold of Lake Fontana. Lake Fontana, with its deep, clear waters and lush surrounding forests, is a popular spot for fishing and boating in the Appalachian Mountains. But beneath its calm surface lies a tale of greed, betrayal, and a fortune in gold that has never been found. The story begins at the end of the Civil War, as the Confederacy was collapsing. Legend has it that a group of Confederate soldiers, desperate to prevent their treasury from falling into Union hands, loaded several crates of gold onto wagons and fled into the mountains. Their plan was to bury the gold in a remote location and return for it once the war was over. The soldiers made it to the area now covered by Lake Fontana, but the journey was treacherous and tensions ran high. The men argued over what to do with the gold, with some wanting to keep it for themselves rather than return it to the Confederate government. The disagreement turned violent, and a deadly skirmish ensued. In the end, only one soldier survived, badly wounded but determined to hide the gold before he succumbed to his injuries. He buried the treasure somewhere in the forest, marking the spot with a cryptic symbol carved into a nearby tree. The soldier died shortly after, taking the exact location of the gold to his grave. When the lake was created in the 1940s, the area where the treasure was believed to be buried was submerged underwater, adding another layer of difficulty to its discovery. To this day, treasure hunters scour the area around Lake Fontana, hoping to decipher the clues and uncover the lost Confederate gold. Some have reported finding strange markings on trees or hearing whispers in the wind as they search, but the treasure remains elusive, its location hidden by time and the ever-changing landscape of the mountains. The haunting of the Greenbrier Ghost. The Greenbrier Ghost, a well-known tale from the Appalachian region, is a story of love, betrayal, and justice from beyond the grave. It takes place in the small town of Greenbrier, West Virginia, in the late 19th century. Zona Hester Shue, a young woman with a bright future, married a blacksmith named Edward Shue. The marriage, however, was far from happy. Zona's mother, Mary Jane Hester, distrusted Edward from the start, feeling that something was not right about him. Tragically, Zona was found dead in her home under mysterious circumstances just a few months after the wedding. Edward claimed that Zona had died of a heart attack, and the local doctor, who was also the coroner, accepted this explanation without conducting a thorough examination. Zona was quickly buried, and Edward seemed eager to put the whole affair behind him. But Mary Jane was not convinced. She believed that her daughter had been murdered and prayed fervently for a sign to prove it. Her prayers were answered in the form of a series of vivid dreams in which Zona's ghost appeared, revealing that Edward had killed her in a fit of rage. Zona's spirit described how Edward had crushed her windpipe, breaking her neck, and then staged her body to make it look like she had died naturally. Mary Jane took her story to the local prosecutor, who, though skeptical, agreed to exhume Zona's body for a proper autopsy. The examination confirmed the ghost's claims. Zona's neck was indeed broken, and her windpipe was crushed. Edward Shue was arrested and put on trial for murder. During the trial, Mary Jane testified about the ghostly visits, and remarkably, the jury found her story convincing. Edward was convicted of murder and sentenced to life in prison. The Greenbrier Ghost remains one of the only cases in U.S. legal history where the testimony of a ghost played a key role in securing a conviction. These are just a few of the countless eerie and fascinating tales that have emerged from the Appalachian Mountains. The region's dense forests, winding trails, and remote settlements provide the perfect backdrop for stories of the supernatural, many of which continue to be passed down through generations, adding to the rich tapestry of Appalachian folklore. The mysterious disappearance of Dennis Martin. In 1969, a summer family outing turned into one of the most baffling mysteries of the Appalachian Mountains. The Martin family, from Knoxville, Tennessee, was spending Father's Day weekend in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. They chose to camp at Spence Field, a popular area on the Appalachian Trail near the Tennessee-North Carolina border. 6-year-old Dennis Martin was playing with his brother and other children near the campsite when he decided to play a prank. He planned to hide in the bushes and jump out to surprise the adults. However, when his family called for him, Dennis didn't respond. Thinking he had wandered off, the family began searching for him, but there was no sign of the boy. Panic set in, and a massive search operation was launched, involving park rangers, the National Guard, and even the FBI. Despite the extensive efforts, which included combing through miles of rugged terrain, no trace of Dennis was ever found. Theories about his disappearance range from a tragic accident, where he could have fallen into a ravine, to more sinister explanations, including abduction by an unknown person or even wild animals. One of the most chilling aspects of the case is that on the same afternoon, Dennis disappeared. A family hiking several miles away reported hearing a child scream and seeing a figure darting through the woods. They described the figure as a rough-looking man carrying something on his shoulder, but the connection to Dennis was never confirmed. The disappearance of Dennis Martin remains unsolved, leaving behind a haunting legacy that still lingers in the minds of those who venture into the Smoky Mountains. The Ghost Dog of the Appalachian Trail. The Appalachian Trail, a legendary hiking route that stretches over 2,000 miles from Georgia to Maine, is filled with stories of strange encounters and unexplained phenomena. Among these tales is the legend of the Ghost Dog, a spectral canine that is said to appear to hikers in need of help. According to the story, the Ghost Dog was once a loyal companion to a solitary hiker who had dedicated his life to exploring the Appalachian Trail. The two were inseparable, sharing every moment of the long journey together. But one winter, the hiker fell ill, and despite his dog's attempts to keep him warm and alert other hikers, he died alone on the trail. Heartbroken, the dog is said to have refused to leave his master's side, remaining by his body until it too succumbed to the cold. But the bond between the hiker and his dog was so strong that it transcended death. Hikers have reported seeing the Ghost Dog on foggy mornings or during storms, usually when they are lost or in danger. The dog is described as a large, white shepherd with glowing eyes and an ethereal glow surrounding it. It never makes a sound, but those who have encountered it say they felt a sense of calm and reassurance in its presence. The dog is known to lead lost hikers back to the trail or to a place of safety before disappearing into the mist. Though skeptics dismiss the Ghost Dog as a myth or a trick of the light, many hikers believe in the tale, finding comfort in the idea that a guardian spirit watches over those who traverse the treacherous paths of the Appalachian Trail. The Curse of the Bell Witch Cave. While the Bell Witch is most famously associated with Adams, Tennessee, her legend has crept into the Appalachian Mountains, particularly around the Bell Witch Cave, a limestone cave on the former Bell family property. The Bell Witch is said to be the spirit of a woman named Kate Batts, who was wronged by John Bell, a farmer who lived near the Red River. The legend states that after John Bell and his family tormented Kate Batts in life, she returned in death to haunt them. The Bell Witch's spirit tormented the Bell family for years, causing physical harm, strange noises, and inexplicable events that ultimately led to John Bell's death. The spirit, however, did not rest after John's demise. Instead, it found a new home in the cave on the Bell property. Visitors to the Bell Witch Cave have reported a range of paranormal activities, from eerie voices and cold spots to the feeling of being watched by an unseen presence. Some have even claimed to see shadowy figures or ghostly apparitions lurking in the cave's depths. The cave is now a popular tourist attraction, but it comes with a warning. Many who enter the cave report experiencing misfortune afterward. The curse of the Bell Witch is said to extend to those who disturb her resting place, with some visitors reporting accidents, illnesses, and other misfortunes after their visit. Despite the risks, the legend of the Bell Witch continues to draw curious souls to the Appalachian Mountains, each hoping to catch a glimpse of the spirit that has haunted the region for over 2 centuries. The vanishing town of Elkmont, Tennessee, once a thriving logging town in the heart of the Great Smoky Mountains, is now a ghost town with a mysterious past. Established in the early 1900s, Elkmont was home to a bustling community of loggers and their families. As the timber industry flourished, so did the town, which eventually became a popular resort destination for the wealthy. But by the 1930s, the town's fortunes began to decline as the Great Smoky Mountains National Park was established and the land was purchased by the government. The logging operations ceased, and the residents were forced to leave. The once vibrant community was abandoned, and the town slowly fell into decay. Over the years, Elkmont has become known as one of the most haunted places in the Appalachian Mountains. Visitors to the area report seeing ghostly figures wandering among the dilapidated buildings and hearing the sounds of laughter, music, and conversation as if the town was still alive. Some even claim to have seen the apparition of a train conductor guiding an invisible locomotive through the abandoned tracks. One of the most enduring legends is that of the Appalachian Lady, a ghostly woman dressed in early 20th century clothing who is said to appear on foggy mornings, walking the old roads of Elkmont. Those who have seen her describe her as a sad, lonely figure who seems to be searching for something or someone lost to time. Despite efforts to restore some of the old buildings, the town of Elkmont remains a shadow of its former self, its eerie atmosphere a testament to the lives and stories that once thrived in this now vanished community. The strange case of the Moon-Eyed People. The Appalachian Mountains are rich with Native American legends, one of the most intriguing being the tale of the Moon-Eyed People. According to Cherokee folklore, the Moon-Eyed People were a race of small, pale-skinned beings who lived in the mountains long before the arrival of the Cherokee. They were called moon-eyed because they were said to be so sensitive to light that they could only see at night. These mysterious beings were described as having blue eyes, fair skin, and a small stature. They lived in underground dwellings and were skilled builders, constructing intricate stone structures that still stand today in some parts of the Appalachian Mountains. The Cherokee believed that the Moon-Eyed People were eventually driven out of the region by the more dominant tribes, retreating deep into the mountains where they vanished from history. Archaeologists and historians have debated the origins of the Moon-Eyed People for years, with some suggesting that they might have been an ancient, pre-Columbian race or even early European explorers who arrived long before Columbus. Others believe the story is purely mythical, a reflection of the Cherokees' encounters with other indigenous groups. One of the most famous sites associated with the Moon-Eyed People is the Judicola Rock in North Carolina, a massive boulder covered in ancient petroglyphs that some believe were created by these enigmatic beings. Whether the Moon-Eyed People were real or a product of legend, their story adds another layer of mystery to the already rich folklore of the Appalachian Mountains. The specter of the Red Widows cabin. Deep in the wilderness of the Appalachian Mountains, near the border of North Carolina and Virginia, lies the ruins of an old cabin known as the Red Widows cabin. The story behind this eerie place dates back to the late 1800s when a woman named Sarah Jane Whittaker lived there with her husband. Sarah Jane was known in the area as the Red Widow because of her striking red hair and the tragic fate of her husbands. She had been married 3 times, and each of her husbands had met a mysterious and untimely death, leading to rumors that she was cursed, or worse, that she was responsible for their deaths. The locals began to avoid Sarah Jane, and she became increasingly isolated in her cabin. One night, a terrible fire broke out, engulfing the cabin in flames. When the townspeople arrived, it was too late. Sarah Jane was found dead inside, her body charred beyond recognition. The fire was ruled an accident, but some whispered that it was the work of angry spirits seeking revenge for the deaths of her husbands. After the fire, strange things began to happen at the site of the cabin. Visitors reported hearing screams in the night, seeing ghostly apparitions in the burned-out ruins, and feeling an overwhelming sense of dread. Some claimed to have seen the Red Widow herself, her ghost wandering the site with her hair aflame, searching for something or someone lost in the fire. To this day, the Red Widow's cabin remains a place of fear and fascination, with many believing that the spirit of Sarah Jane Whittaker still haunts the spot where she met her fiery end, forever tied to the tragic fate that earned her the ominous nickname. You said, the tragedy of the lost colony of Roanoke. While the story of the lost colony of Roanoke is often associated with the coast of North Carolina, its mystery has crept into the folklore of the Appalachian Mountains as well. In 1587, over 100 English settlers established a colony on Roanoke Island, only to vanish without a trace by 1590. When the governor, John White, returned to the island after a supply run to England, he found the settlement deserted, with only the word Croatan carved into a post as a clue. The fate of these settlers remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries of American history, with theories ranging from assimilation with local tribes to massacres by hostile forces. However, one of the lesser-known legends suggests that some survivors fled inland, seeking refuge in the Appalachian Mountains. According to this version of the story, a small group of colonists made their way west, hoping to find a safer haven away from the dangers of the coast. They are said to have settled in a remote area of the mountains, where they attempted to build a new life. But the harsh conditions, coupled with their dwindling supplies, led to tragedy. Local Cherokee legends speak of a white tribe that appeared in the mountains around this time. These mysterious strangers were described as pale-skinned with fair hair, unlike any people the Cherokee had seen before. The tribe's presence was brief, and they eventually vanished from the area, leaving behind only a few artifacts and ghostly stories. Some Appalachian locals believe that the spirits of these lost colonists still wander the mountains, their souls trapped in a land that was never meant to be their home. Hikers have reported hearing faint voices in the wind, speaking in an old dialect of English, and seeing spectral figures in colonial clothing moving silently through the trees. Whether these tales are true or simply the product of a region rich in history and legend, the story of the lost colony continues to captivate the imagination of those who call the Appalachian Mountains home. The ghostly miners of the Appalachian coalfields. The coal mines of the Appalachian Mountains have long been the lifeblood of the region, providing work and sustenance for countless families. But these mines have also been the site of countless tragedies, with cave-ins, explosions, and toxic gases claiming the lives of many miners over the years. The harsh conditions and frequent accidents have given rise to numerous ghost stories, none more famous than the tale of the ghostly miners. In the early 1900s, a massive explosion rocked a coal mine in West Virginia, trapping dozens of men underground. Despite desperate rescue efforts, all the miners perished, their bodies never recovered. The mine was sealed, becoming a tomb for those who had died within its dark tunnels. Not long after the disaster, strange things began happening around the old mine. Workers reported hearing the sounds of pickaxes and shovels echoing through the hills, even though the mine had been abandoned. Some claimed to see the figures of miners, covered in soot and grime, emerging from the shadows only to vanish into thin air. One of the most chilling stories involves a foreman who had ordered the miners into the unsafe tunnel on the day of the explosion. Haunted by guilt, the foreman would often visit the mine, seeking some form of atonement. On one such visit, he encountered a group of ghostly miners standing silently at the entrance to the mine. They stared at him with hollow eyes, their faces twisted in expressions of pain and anger. The foreman fled in terror and was found the next morning, dead of a heart attack. Today, the site of the mine is a memorial to the men who lost their lives in the disaster. Visitors still report eerie occurrences, ghostly figures, disembodied voices, and the smell of burning coal wafting through the air. The ghostly miners of the Appalachian coalfields serve as a reminder of the dangerous and often deadly work that has shaped the history of the region. The Witch of Pilot Mountain. Pilot Mountain, a distinctive peak in North Carolina, is a well-known landmark in the Appalachian region, often described as a mountain with a hat, due to its unique shape. But beyond its striking appearance, the mountain is steeped in folklore, particularly the tale of the Witch of Pilot Mountain. According to local legend, a woman named Hester, who lived near the mountain in the early 1800s, was accused of witchcraft by her neighbors. Hester was known for her herbal remedies and unusual knowledge of the natural world, which led some to believe that she had made a pact with the devil. When several unexplained deaths and misfortunes struck the community, suspicion quickly turned to Hester. The townspeople, consumed by fear and anger, decided to take matters into their own hands. They captured Hester and dragged her to the summit of Pilot Mountain, where they tied her to a tree and left her to die. Before she was abandoned, Hester cursed the town, vowing that her spirit would haunt the mountain forever and bring misfortune to those who had wronged her. In the years that followed, the town was plagued by strange occurrences. Crops failed, livestock died mysteriously, and many of those involved in Hester's death met tragic ends. Some were found dead in their homes, their faces twisted in terror, while others disappeared without a trace. Hikers and campers near Pilot Mountain have reported seeing a shadowy figure at the summit, believed to be the restless spirit of Hester. She is said to appear on stormy nights, her voice carried on the wind as she repeats the curse she cast on the town. Those who venture too close to the summit have described feeling an overwhelming sense of dread, as if being watched by an unseen force. While some dismiss the story as nothing more than a cautionary tale, others believe that the Witch of Pilot Mountain still roams the peak, her spirit unable to find peace. Whether or not the legend is true, the mountain remains a place of mystery and fear, its dark history etched into the landscape. The mystery of the Appalachian Giants. The Appalachian Mountains are home to many legends, but few are as strange and enigmatic as the tales of the Appalachian Giants. According to various reports, giant humanoid creatures have been sighted in the more remote parts of the mountains for centuries, described as towering figures with incredible strength and speed. The earliest stories of the Appalachian Giants come from the Native American tribes who once lived in the region. The Cherokee, in particular, spoke of a race of giants who inhabited the mountains long before the arrival of European settlers. These beings were said to be peaceful, but wary of humans, often retreating deeper into the wilderness when approached. As settlers began to move into the Appalachian region, stories of giant sightings increased. Some pioneers claimed to have encountered these giants while hunting or exploring the dense forests. One famous account from the late 1700s tells of a group of hunters who stumbled upon a giant's lair deep in the mountains. They described seeing massive footprints in the snow and a cave filled with the bones of large animals, suggesting that the giant had been feeding on the local wildlife. In the 1800s, a series of strange discoveries added fuel to the legend. Several large skeletal remains were unearthed in the Appalachian Mountains, with some bones measuring over 7 feet in length. While many of these finds were dismissed as the bones of prehistoric animals or exaggerated by local folklore, they nonetheless sparked a wave of interest in the possibility of giants living in the mountains. In more recent years, sightings of the Appalachian Giants have continued, though they remain rare and often dismissed as hoaxes or misidentifications. Those who believe in the giants argue that the vast, unexplored areas of the Appalachian Mountains could easily hide such creatures from human eyes. Skeptics, however, point out the lack of concrete evidence and argue that the giants are nothing more than a product of imagination and fear. Whether real or mythical, the Appalachian Giants remain one of the most intriguing mysteries of the region, a reminder of how much of the natural world remains unknown. The Crying Woman of the White Mountains. The White Mountains, part of the Appalachian Range in New Hampshire, are known for their rugged beauty and challenging hiking trails. But they are also home to a haunting tale that has been passed down through generations, the story of the Crying Woman. According to legend, the Crying Woman was once a young bride who lived in a small village at the base of the White Mountains. She and her husband were deeply in love, but their happiness was short-lived. One winter, her husband went hunting in the mountains and never returned. Despite the efforts of the villagers to find him, he was presumed dead, having likely perished in a storm or fallen victim to the harsh wilderness. Devastated by the loss, the young bride refused to accept her husband's fate. She would wander the mountains day and night, calling out his name and searching for any sign of him. The cold and exhaustion eventually took their toll, and one day she was found dead at the base of a cliff, her body frozen and her face streaked with tears. Since then, hikers and climbers have reported hearing the sound of a woman crying in the White Mountains, especially on cold, moonlit nights. The cries are often described as soft and mournful, echoing through the valleys and cliffs. Some have claimed to see a ghostly figure, dressed in white, wandering the trails as if searching for something, or someone lost long ago. The Crying Woman is said to appear to those who are lost or in danger, her presence both a warning and a reminder of the mountain's unforgiving nature. While the story may be rooted in tragedy, it also serves as a testament to the enduring power of love and the lengths to which one will go in the name of that love, even in the face of overwhelming odds. Whether or not the Crying Woman is real, her tale has become an integral part of the folklore of the White Mountains, adding a layer of mystery and melancholy to the already awe-inspiring landscape. The legend of Spearfinger. In the heart of the Smoky Mountains, the Cherokee tell a terrifying tale of Spearfinger, a shape-shifting witch with a stone body and a sharp obsidian finger that she used as a deadly weapon. According to the legend, Spearfinger roamed the Appalachian Mountains, preying on unsuspecting children and the elderly, luring them away from their homes before revealing her true, monstrous form. Spearfinger was known to disguise herself as a beloved family member or friend, making it nearly impossible to detect her presence until it was too late. Once she gained the trust of her victims, she would use her spear-like finger to pierce their bodies and remove their livers, which she consumed to sustain her unnatural life. The Cherokee people lived in constant fear of Spearfinger, and many attempts were made to hunt her down. Warriors would set traps in the forests, but Spearfinger, with her stone body, was immune to their weapons. She was said to have the ability to heal any wound, and her stone skin made her nearly invincible. Her ability to mimic the voices and appearances of loved ones made her a particularly insidious threat, as she could easily infiltrate homes and communities. One day, a group of Cherokee warriors devised a plan to defeat Spearfinger. They lured her to a narrow gorge in the mountains and set a trap that would cause the ground to collapse beneath her. When Spearfinger arrived, the warriors attacked, but their weapons, as usual, were ineffective against her stone skin. However, the warriors noticed that her one weakness was her heart, which was hidden in her right hand rather than her chest. With this knowledge, the warriors focused their attacks on her hand, eventually breaking through her defenses and striking her heart. Spearfinger let out a horrible scream and crumbled to the ground, her stone body shattering into pieces. The Cherokee celebrated their victory, knowing they had rid the mountains of one of their most feared enemies. Today, the legend of Spearfinger serves as both a cautionary tale and a reminder of the rich cultural history of the Cherokee people in the Appalachian region. The story is still told around campfires, with many locals claiming to hear her ghostly wail echoing through the mountains on cold, windy nights. The cursed town of Owen, Tennessee, a small town nestled in the Appalachian Mountains, is the setting for one of the most infamous and bizarre events in the region's history, the public hanging of Mary the Elephant in 1916. The incident has left an indelible mark on the town, with many believing that Owen has been cursed ever since. Mary was a 5-ton circus elephant who had been performing in the Sparks world-famous shows. During a parade through Kingsport, Tennessee, Mary killed her inexperienced handler, Red Eldridge, in a moment of apparent agitation. Eldridge had only been on the job for a day and reportedly prodded Mary behind the ear with a hook, causing her to react violently. The circus management, fearing public outcry and the potential loss of business, decided that Mary must be put down. The decision was made to hang Mary from a railcar derrick in nearby Irwin, where a large crowd gathered to witness the execution. The gruesome event did not go smoothly. The first attempt to hang Mary failed when the chain around her neck snapped, causing her to fall to the ground and break her hip. The second attempt was successful, and Mary was hanged until she died. This brutal act shocked the nation, and many believe it brought a curse upon the town of Owen. Since the hanging, the town has been plagued by a series of unfortunate events, from economic downturns to natural disasters. Some locals claim that Mary's spirit haunts the town, her ghost appearing in the form of a large shadowy figure that moves silently through the night. Others report hearing the sound of heavy chains clinking in the dark, accompanied by the mournful trumpet of an elephant. While some dismiss the curse as mere superstition, the story of Mary's tragic fate continues to cast a long shadow over Irwin, serving as a reminder of the darker side of humanity and the consequences of cruelty. The Spirits of Harper's Ferry, West Virginia, is a town steeped in history and tragedy, making it one of the most haunted places in the Appalachian Mountains. The town played a significant role during the Civil War, particularly during John Brown's raid in 1859, an event that is often cited as one of the sparks that ignited the conflict. John Brown, an abolitionist, led a group of men in an attempt to seize the federal armory at Harper's Ferry, intending to arm enslaved people and start a rebellion. The raid was ultimately unsuccessful, and Brown was captured and hanged, but the violence and bloodshed left a lasting impact on the town. The ghosts of Harper's Ferry are said to be the restless spirits of those who died during the raid and the battles that followed. One of the most famous hauntings is that of John Brown himself, whose ghost is said to appear near the armory where he made his last stand. Witnesses report seeing a bearded man in old-fashioned clothing, his face full of determination and sorrow as he paces the streets of the town. Another well-known ghost is that of a young soldier who died during the Battle of Harper's Ferry in 1862. His spirit is often seen wandering the old battlegrounds, his uniform torn and bloodied, as he searches for his comrades who also perished in the fight. Some visitors to Harper's Ferry have reported hearing the distant sounds of gunfire and cannon blasts, as if the battle is still raging in some spectral dimension. The historic buildings in Harper's Ferry are also said to be haunted. The Harper's Ferry Inn, built in the 1700s, is home to a ghostly woman in white who has been seen gliding through the halls late at night. Guests have reported feeling cold spots, hearing unexplained footsteps, and seeing doors open and close on their own. These hauntings have made Harper's Ferry a popular destination for ghost hunters and paranormal enthusiasts. The spirits of the past seem to linger in the town, a reminder of the turbulent history that shaped the region and the many lives lost in the pursuit of freedom. The Mothman of Point Pleasant. While the legend of the Mothman is often associated with the town of Point Pleasant, West Virginia, its influence reaches deep into the Appalachian Mountains. The Mothman is described as a large, humanoid creature with glowing red eyes and large, bat-like wings. It was first sighted in 1966 by two couples who were driving near an old World War II munitions plant known as the TNT area. Over the next year, numerous sightings of the Mothman were reported in and around Point Pleasant, often accompanied by strange occurrences such as electrical disturbances, unexplained lights in the sky, and a feeling of impending doom. The creature was said to be able to fly at incredible speeds and had an otherworldly presence that left witnesses terrified. The Mothman legend reached its peak with the collapse of the Silver Bridge in December 1967, a tragedy that resulted in the deaths of 46 people. Some believe that the Mothman was a harbinger of the disaster, appearing to warn the townspeople of the impending catastrophe. Others claim that the creature was somehow responsible for the bridge's collapse, though there is no evidence to support this theory. Since then, the Mothman has become a fixture of Appalachian folklore, with reports of sightings continuing to this day. Those who have encountered the creature describe a sense of overwhelming fear and dread, as if the Mothman is a being from another realm, drawn to places of death and destruction. Point Pleasant now hosts an annual Mothman Festival, celebrating the legend with guest speakers, live music, and a Mothman statue in the center of town. The story has inspired books, movies, and TV shows, cementing the Mothman's place in American pop culture. But for those who have seen the creature with their own eyes, the legend is all too real, a chilling reminder that the Appalachian Mountains hold many secrets and unexplained phenomena. The ghost train of the Clinchfield Railroad. The Clinchfield Railroad, which winds through the Appalachian Mountains of Virginia and North Carolina, has its own ghostly legend. The story of the ghost train. The railroad was constructed in the early 20th century to haul coal from the mines in the Appalachian region to markets in the southeast. The route was known for its treacherous curves and steep grades, making it a dangerous journey for the train crews. One of the most famous tales of the Clinchfield Railroad is that of the ghost train, a spectral locomotive that is said to appear on foggy nights, chatting silently along the old tracks. The train is often described as a vintage steam engine, complete with glowing headlights and the sound of a distant whistle that echoes through the valleys. The legend began after a tragic accident in the 1920s, when a passenger train derailed on a sharp curve, plunging into a ravine below. Dozens of people were killed, and the wreckage was so mangled that it took days to recover the bodies. Ever since, there have been reports of a ghostly train running along the tracks, as if replaying the fatal journey over and over again. Some who have encountered the ghost train claim that it is an omen of impending disaster. Railroad workers have reported seeing the train just before a derailment or accident, and many believe that the spirits of those who died in the crash are still aboard, forever trapped in a spectral loop. Others have a different explanation, suggesting that the ghost train is a residual haunting, a kind of time loop that replays a tragic event. The idea is that the intense emotional energy of the accident was imprinted on the environment, causing the event to repeat itself in the form of a ghostly train. Whether a true ghost or a product of the imagination, the ghost train of the Clinchfield Railroad remains a haunting reminder of the dangers faced by those who worked and traveled on the railroads of the Appalachian Mountains. The sight of the train, moving silently through the mist, is enough to send shivers down the spine of even the most seasoned railroad worker. The Headless Horseman of Sleepy Hollow Road. Sleepy Hollow Road, located near Louisville, Kentucky, on the fringes of the Appalachian Mountains, is the setting for one of the region's most enduring ghost stories, the tale of the Headless Horseman. Not to be confused with Washington Irving's famous character, this Headless Horseman is a uniquely Appalachian legend. According to local folklore, the Headless Horseman was once a Confederate soldier during the Civil War, who met a gruesome end when he was captured by Union forces. The soldier was decapitated during an ambush, and his body was left to rot in the woods. His head was never found, and his soul was said to be unable to rest. Since then, the ghost of the Headless Horseman has been seen riding along Sleepy Hollow Road on foggy nights, searching for his lost head. Witnesses describe seeing a spectral figure atop a black horse, galloping silently along the road, his severed neck emitting an eerie glow. The horseman is said to chase after cars and passers-by, disappearing into the woods just before reaching them. One of the most famous encounters with the Headless Horseman occurred in the 1950s when a group of teenagers dared each other to drive down Sleepy Hollow Road late at night. As they reached the darkest part of the road, they saw a figure on horseback in the distance. The figure began to gallop toward them, faster and faster, until it was almost upon them. The terrified teens sped away, only to look back and see the horseman vanish into thin air. Over the years, many have tried to debunk the legend, suggesting that the sightings are merely tricks of the light or overactive imaginations. However, those who have experienced the Headless Horseman firsthand swear by what they saw, insisting that the road is haunted by the restless spirit of a soldier who will never find peace. Sleepy Hollow Road remains a popular destination for ghost hunters and thrill seekers, all hoping to catch a glimpse of the Headless Horseman and prove that the legend is more than just a story. The eerie atmosphere of the road, with its dense trees and narrow path, only adds to the sense of unease, making it easy to believe that something supernatural might be lurking in the shadows. These true stories of the Appalachian Mountains offer a glimpse into the rich tapestry of folklore that has shaped the region for centuries. Each tale reflects the unique history, culture, and natural beauty of the Appalachians, where the line between the real and the supernatural is often blurred, and where the past continues to influence the present in mysterious and unexpected ways. The Haunted Tunnel of the Blue Ridge Parkway. The Blue Ridge Parkway, one of the most scenic drives in the United States, winds its way through the Appalachian Mountains, offering breathtaking views and a connection to nature. However, along this picturesque route lies a tunnel that is said to be haunted by the spirits of those who died during its construction. The story begins in the 1930s when the Blue Ridge Parkway was being built as part of a New Deal project to provide jobs during the Great Depression. One of the most challenging aspects of the construction was the digging of the tunnels that would allow the parkway to pass through the mountains. These tunnels were blasted out of solid rock using dynamite, a dangerous task that required precision and skill. One day, while working on a tunnel near Asheville, North Carolina, a tragic accident occurred. A group of workers was inside the tunnel when a premature dynamite explosion caused the tunnel to collapse, trapping the men inside. Despite frantic efforts to rescue them, the workers perished and their bodies were never recovered. Not long after the tunnel was completed, reports of strange occurrences began to surface. Travelers driving through the tunnel at night would hear the faint sounds of pickaxes striking rock, as if the ghostly workers were still toiling away. Some reported seeing shadowy figures moving along the walls of the tunnel, only to disappear when approached. The most chilling reports, however, came from those who claimed to hear desperate voices calling for help, echoing through the darkness of the tunnel. Local law suggests that the spirits of the trapped workers remain in the tunnel, forever trying to complete the job that cost them their lives. The tunnel has become a notorious spot for paranormal investigators, many of whom have captured unexplained sounds and images during their visits. Some visitors leave offerings at the entrance to the tunnel, hoping to appease the restless spirits and bring them peace. The haunted tunnel of the Blue Ridge Parkway is a reminder of the human cost of progress and the enduring presence of those who met tragic ends. For those who believe in the supernatural, the tunnel is a place of both fear and fascination, where the past continues to linger in the shadows of the Appalachian Mountains. The Ghosts of the Mountain Meadows Massacre. The Mountain Meadows Massacre is one of the darkest chapters in American history, a brutal event that took place in 1857 in what is now southern Utah. While the massacre itself occurred far from the Appalachian Mountains, the ghostly repercussions of the tragedy have reportedly been felt in the region, particularly in the remote and isolated areas where the story has taken on a life of its own. The massacre involved a group of settlers, primarily from Arkansas, who were traveling westward in a wagon train. They were attacked by a group of Mormon militiamen and Paiute Native Americans, who killed most of the settlers and left their bodies to be buried in shallow graves. The reasons for the massacre remain controversial, with theories ranging from religious fanaticism to revenge for perceived wrongs. In the years following the massacre, tales of strange happenings began to emerge from the Appalachian Mountains, where some of the descendants of the victims had settled. People spoke of seeing ghostly wagon trains moving silently through the forests, the spectral forms of men, women, and children appearing and disappearing like mist. Some claimed to hear the sound of distant gunfire and the cries of the dying, as if the massacre were being replayed in some otherworldly dimension. One of the most persistent legends involves a particular family that lived near the Blue Ridge Mountains, believed to be descendants of the massacre victims. They reported a series of disturbing events, including poltergeist activity, unexplained cold spots, and the apparition of a woman in pioneer clothing who would appear at their window, silently weeping. The family eventually moved away, unable to endure the haunting any longer. Paranormal investigators who have explored the region have reported experiencing similar phenomena, including unexplained shadows, EVP recordings of voices speaking in old-fashioned dialects, and the feeling of being watched by unseen eyes. The connection between the Appalachian hauntings and the Mountain Meadows massacre remains speculative, but the stories persist, adding another layer to the rich tapestry of Appalachian ghost lore. For those who believe in the lingering effects of tragedy, the Ghosts of the Mountain Meadows Massacre serve as a reminder that the past can cast long and dark shadows, even across great distances and generations. The Appalachian Mountains, with their ancient forests and hidden hollows, provide the perfect backdrop for these tales of sorrow and loss, where the spirits of the past are never far from the surface. The Cursed Gold of the Appalachian Mountains. The Appalachian Mountains have long been rumored to hide treasure, from lost Confederate gold to buried pirate booty. One of the most enduring stories is that of a cursed treasure buried somewhere in the hills of eastern Kentucky. According to legend, a group of outlaws in the early 1800s stole a large sum of gold coins from a bank in Virginia and fled into the mountains to hide their loot. The outlaws buried the gold in a remote cave, intending to return for it once the heat had died down. However, as they were making their way out of the mountains, they were ambushed by a rival gang who killed them all, leaving no one alive to reveal the location of the treasure. The gold has remained hidden ever since, despite numerous attempts to find it. What makes this story particularly chilling is the curse said to be attached to the treasure. It is believed that anyone who searches for the gold will meet with misfortune, from accidents and illness to mysterious disappearances. Over the years, several would-be treasure hunters have vanished while searching the area, their bodies never found. Others have died under strange circumstances, leading to the belief that the treasure is guarded by vengeful spirits. One of the most famous incidents occurred in the early 20th century when a man named Samuel Tate claimed to have found the cave where the gold was hidden. Tate, an experienced prospector, had been searching for the treasure for years and was certain he had finally located it. However, before he could retrieve the gold, Tate fell ill with a mysterious fever and died within days, never revealing the location of the cave. Since then, the legend of the cursed gold has grown, with many locals refusing to even speak of it for fear of attracting bad luck. The story has become part of the folklore of the region, a cautionary tale about the dangers of greed and the power of the supernatural. Despite the curse, the lure of hidden treasure continues to draw adventurers to the Appalachian Mountains, each hoping to be the one to break the curse and claim the gold. Whether the treasure truly exists or is merely a figment of imagination, the legend of the cursed gold remains one of the most intriguing and eerie tales of the Appalachian Mountains. It serves as a reminder that some secrets are best left buried, and that the mountains hold mysteries that may never be fully understood. The Phantom Stagecoach of the Smoky Mountains. The Smoky Mountains, with their misty peaks and dense forests, are the perfect setting for ghost stories, and one of the most famous is that of the Phantom Stagecoach. According to legend, the stagecoach was once part of a route that ran through the mountains, carrying passengers and mail between the isolated communities scattered throughout the region. One fateful night in the late 1800s, the stagecoach was making its way through a narrow mountain pass when it was caught in a sudden, violent storm. The rain came down in torrents, turning the road into a quagmire of mud and rock. The horses struggled to keep their footing as the wind howled through the trees, and visibility was reduced to almost nothing. As the stagecoach rounded a particularly treacherous bend, the road gave way beneath it, sending the coach tumbling down the mountainside. The driver, the horses, and the passengers were all killed in the crash, their bodies crushed beneath the wreckage. The coach and its cargo were never recovered, swallowed up by the dense undergrowth and shifting earth. Since that night, travelers have reported seeing the phantom stagecoach on the very same mountain road, particularly during storms. The ghostly coach is described as an old-fashioned, horse-drawn vehicle, with lanterns glowing eerily in the darkness. The driver is a shadowy figure, his face obscured by a wide-brimmed hat, and the horses are said to be skeletal, their eyes glowing red. Those who encounter the phantom stagecoach often describe hearing the sound of hoofbeats and the creaking of wooden wheels before the coach appears out of the fog. It moves swiftly along the road, as if unaware of the modern vehicles it passes, and then disappears into the mist, leaving no trace behind. Some believe that the phantom stagecoach is a harbinger of death, appearing to those who are about to meet their end. Others see it as a residual haunting, a ghostly replay of the tragic accident that claimed so many lives. Whatever the explanation, the story of the phantom stagecoach has become a part of the Smoky Mountains' rich tradition of ghostly tales, passed down through generations of mountain folk. The sight of the stagecoach, emerging from the mist on a stormy night, is enough to make even the most skeptical traveler shiver with fear. It is a reminder that the mountains, with their rugged beauty and hidden dangers, are a place where the past and present often collide, and where the line between the living and the dead is sometimes all too thin. These stories of the Appalachian Mountains capture the mystique and mystery of a region steeped in history and legend. From haunted tunnels and cursed treasures to vanishing men and phantom stagecoaches, the Appalachian Mountains are a place where the supernatural seems to be woven into the very fabric of the land, inviting those who dare to explore to uncover its many secrets. The ghost of Lucy at Greenbrier County. Greenbrier County, West Virginia, is known for its beautiful rolling hills and rich history. However, one of its most famous tales is that of a spirit named Lucy, whose haunting presence has been reported for over a century. Lucy was a young woman in the early 19th century, known for her beauty and kindness. She lived a simple life on a farm with her family. She was engaged to a local man, and everything seemed perfect until tragedy struck. Just weeks before her wedding, Lucy fell gravely ill with a mysterious illness that left her bedridden. Despite the best efforts of her family and the local doctor, Lucy succumbed to her illness, dying just days before her wedding day. Heartbroken, her fiancé never recovered from the loss. He visited her grave daily, often leaving flowers and speaking to her as if she was still alive. Local townsfolk began to notice strange occurrences near Lucy's grave. At night, some claimed to see a woman in a white dress, similar to the one Lucy had been buried in, wandering near the cemetery. Others reported hearing faint sobs and whispers in the wind when passing by the graveyard after dark. The story of Lucy's ghost spread quickly through Greenbrier County, and soon, people from neighboring towns came to witness the phenomenon for themselves. Some claimed that Lucy's ghost was searching for her lost love, unable to rest until she could be reunited with him in the afterlife. Others believed that Lucy's spirit was trying to communicate with the living, perhaps to reveal something about her untimely death. Over the years, sightings of Lucy have continued, with many claiming to see her ethereal figure near the cemetery, especially on cold, misty nights. Some have even reported feeling a cold breeze pass by them, accompanied by the scent of fresh flowers, an eerie reminder of the flowers her fiancé once left at her grave. While skeptics dismiss the story as nothing more than local folklore, the residents of Greenbrier County remain convinced that Lucy's spirit lingers among them. Her tale is a poignant reminder of lost love and the power of grief, echoing through the hills and valleys of the Appalachian Mountains. The Devil Dog of Val Crucis. Val Crucis, a small community in the mountains of North Carolina, is known for its picturesque scenery and historic buildings. However, it is also home to one of the most terrifying legends in the Appalachian Mountains, the tale of the Devil Dog. The story dates back to the 1800s when a local preacher encountered a strange black dog while walking along a rural road late at night. The dog was unusually large, with glowing red eyes and a menacing presence. As the preacher approached, the dog growled and bared its teeth, but what was most unsettling was that the dog seemed to radiate a sense of evil. The preacher, sensing that this was no ordinary dog, began to recite scripture, hoping to ward off whatever malevolent force was confronting him. As he did, the dog slowly backed away into the shadows, disappearing without a trace. Shaken, the preacher returned home, convinced that he had encountered a demon in the form of a dog. In the years that followed, other residents of Val Crucis reported similar encounters with the devil dog. The creature was always described the same way, jet black, larger than any dog they had ever seen, with glowing red eyes and an aura of malevolence. Some claimed that the dog would chase them, only to vanish into thin air when they reached the safety of their homes. Others reported hearing its growls and the sound of its heavy footsteps behind them, though when they turned to look, there was nothing there. The devil dog is believed to be a harbinger of doom, appearing before tragic events or disasters. Locals say that those who see the dog are cursed with bad luck or, worse, may meet an untimely end. The creature's origins are unknown, but some speculate that it is the spirit of a hound that was once owned by a cruel and evil man, cursed to roam the earth for eternity. Despite the fear that the devil dog inspires, the legend continues to be a part of Val Crucis' identity, a chilling reminder of the supernatural forces that are said to dwell in the Appalachian Mountains. Whether real or imagined, the devil dog serves as a warning to those who venture out alone at night, a spectral guardian of the dark and haunted woods. The Bell Witch's Appalachian cousin. While the Bell Witch is most famously associated with Adams, Tennessee, the legend has spread throughout the Appalachian Mountains, giving rise to stories of similar entities haunting the region. One such tale comes from the hills of western North Carolina, where a spirit known as the Bell Witch's Appalachian cousin has terrorized residents for generations. The story goes that in the early 1800s, a woman named Abigail Harper lived in a small, remote cabin in the mountains. She was a widow known for her knowledge of herbs and natural remedies, which led some to believe she was a witch. Despite these rumors, Abigail was kind and helped many of her neighbors when they fell ill or needed assistance. However, after a particularly harsh winter during which many people in the area died of illness, suspicion fell on Abigail. It was said that she had cursed the land, causing the sickness that ravaged the community. The townsfolk, fearful and desperate, confronted her and accused her of witchcraft. In a fit of anger, they'd burned her cabin to the ground, with Abigail still inside. As the flames consumed her home, Abigail cursed those who had wronged her, vowing to return from the grave to exact her revenge. From that day forward, strange things began to happen in the area. People reported hearing Abigail's voice in the wind, cursing them and promising retribution. Others saw her ghostly figure wandering the ruins of her cabin, her face twisted in anger and sorrow. The haunting grew more intense over time. Farm animals were found dead, crops withered, and children fell ill for no apparent reason. The residents believed that Abigail's spirit was responsible and that she was the Appalachian cousin of the infamous Bell Witch. To this day, the area where Abigail's cabin once stood is avoided by locals, who believe that her spirit still lingers, angry and vengeful. Some say that on cold, moonless nights, you can hear her curses carried on the wind, a reminder of the dark legacy left by those who accused an innocent woman of witchcraft. The tale of the Bell Witch's Appalachian cousin is a powerful example of how fear and superstition can lead to tragedy, and how the stories of the past continue to haunt the present in the Appalachian Mountains. The Silver Run Tunnel haunting. The Silver Run Tunnel, located in West Virginia, is a place shrouded in mystery and fear. Built in the late 1800s as part of the Baltimore and Ohio Railroad, the tunnel quickly gained a reputation for being haunted, and the stories surrounding it are some of the most chilling in Appalachian folklore. The most famous legend associated with the Silver Run Tunnel involves the ghost of a woman in white. According to the tale, a young bride was traveling by train to meet her fiancé when tragedy struck. As the train entered the tunnel, she either fell or was pushed from the carriage, meeting a gruesome end beneath the wheels of the train. Her body was never found, and it was believed that she was buried somewhere in the tunnel. Since then, numerous train crews and passengers have reported seeing the ghostly figure of a woman dressed in white standing at the entrance of the tunnel or walking along the tracks. She is described as having a pale, mournful expression, her dress stained with blood. Some say she raises her hand as if to stop the train, while others claim she silently boards the train, only to vanish before reaching the other side of the tunnel. The haunting is said to be most active during full moons or on the anniversary of the bride's death. Those who have encountered the ghost speak of an overwhelming sense of sadness and dread, as if the tunnel itself is steeped in the grief of the tragic event. Some have even reported hearing the faint sound of a woman sobbing, echoing through the darkness of the tunnel. Despite its fearsome reputation, the Silver Run Tunnel remains a popular destination for ghost hunters and thrill seekers, all hoping to catch a glimpse of the mysterious woman in white. The tunnel has been the subject of numerous investigations, with many capturing unexplained phenomena on camera or audio recordings. The Silver Run Tunnel haunting is a testament to the power of local legends in the Appalachian Mountains, where the line between the living and the dead often seems blurred. It serves as a chilling reminder that some spirits may never find peace, forever trapped in the places where they met their untimely end.